Boom.
Oh
Look at that.
We're back live.
Hey.
And we have audio.
Oh, and we do have
Oh my God.
Hi, guys.
The powers of the internet.
Totally promise I'm a professional usually. But hey, welcome to the second half of the Tie Jam. And Robert's going to be my beautiful model with amazing commentary from Andrea, who is hiding in the wings because she's got a little bit of a rib issue. So today we're going to work on just hip flexors, quads, some of the glutes, TFL, and a bunch of other things that I'm going to be saying, a bunch of other muscles, but really just the leg. A lot of times people will get that hip pain, you know, right around this area going down, on top of their thighs going down. And then we'll also do some really beautiful calf work because everybody needs their calves worked on. So the first thing that we're going to do is I'm going to come to the side, kind of square my hips up. I'm going to take my bottom leg and gently slide it underneath my receiver's knee. So here's his knee. Take my foot, kind of put it in like that, make it a little soft. That way I'm not, you know, stabbing him with a nice sharp part of my top of my foot. Then I'm going to take a nice broad foot and just press into his hip. And then to see other cameras, we're going to try that one. Oh, look, you can see me. Isn't that awesome? Again, promise you, totes professional. So I've got my nice soft foot underneath here, and I'm just doing some hip mobilization, seeing where, if there's any tension. I like his floppy foot. That means I'm moving stuff around. Now what I'm going to do, as you can see, as I'm lifting him up, I'm creating a little bit of a space underneath his hips and glute. I'm going to take my foot and pop up that hip so I can get into glute medius and glute maximus. And that is going to be here. So we're going to watch. Ready? 1, 2, and I'm going to pop it up. I'm going to get a little bit closer, hook this knee up. So as you can see now, I've got my foot into a little bit of TFL, a little bit of that glute medius, and all that jazz. And here is a little bit of a graphic so you can see what I'm pressing on. Right there, nice big glute max. And piriformis is going to be on the left, but these are all of the muscles up here on the side. Glute minimus, a little bit of piriformis, glute medius for sure, and glute max. And then back to 1. So here you can see, and I'm just pressing in. I'm not sure if you can tell, there's a lot of space underneath here because I've lifted this hip up. And again, I've got my other foot over here trapping his leg. You can kind of see 4. Oh, there we go. So you see my foot here. I'll go back to this camera. So pressing in, what I'm taking my toes and pressing in a little bit more into TFL because a lot of people need work. And I'm just going to gently rock because that's what I like to do. There's lots of different things that we can do here. I like this one. How does that feel, Robert? Good. So.
For me, I don't have, like me generally, I don't have huge issues in my glutes or huge issues with my legs, but my low back has been a little weird. And what I feel mainly is twist in my
Yeah, that's another reason why I like this, because we're lifting the hip. We're getting some nice kind of passive stretching through the front of the hips, but also all of that movement in the lumbar. So again, what I've got going on is my lower leg is holding and pulling his knee towards me. So I'm doing this kind of motion, this. So my top foot is pushing in, my bottom leg is pulling. And I'm just holding because this is what I feel. Feels good. And then again, to soften it back up and come in and move them around. How'd that feel? So find that TFL, press in. Again, I like to use broad to sharp. So we're gonna use the broad, nice flat part of my foot first. And then what I can do sometimes is come in, use the knife or the side of my foot, press in a little bit more. How does that feel?
A little sharper. But
yeah, it's definitely gonna be a little bit sharper. I want a little bit more, I can use my heel. How does that feel? Yeah, it is like a mean elbow. But the cool thing is I got my hands. My hands aren't hurting. Just hanging out. So. And I find doing this work starting out helps loosen up the hips. So when we go to do more of this hip or leg mobilization or any of your stretches that you love to do, a lot of times when you do those crossover stretches, your client or your receiver will get pain right here in their hip flexors. It hurts. So starting this way, I like to soften up. How does that feel?
The other part is I'm just a glutton. You can work on my toes. I'm like, oh
that
yes.
Is true.
Work on my feet. Oh yes. Oh, you work on my pain stuff. Oh yes. Touch me.
Robert is a wonderful receiver because I can go as hard as I like or as he likes, whereas I am a giant pressure sissy and he has to be very gentle and treat me like China, like fine China, not the country. So what I'm doing here is I'm taking the heel because Robert can handle that amount of pressure, and I'm just pressing in and slightly down. And again, that's going to be a little bit more on vastus lateralis and a little bit of a rectus femoris where it attaches. So we'll put this up there. I say rectus femoris.
Femoris sounds like a dog.
Femoris does sound like a dog.
It's like a dog in
Ooh, he's going to get you.
I like that. Now dog that.
Oh, we should.
Yeah.
Well, you know, I have to say the rectus femoris is kind of a jerk, and I could see dogs being kind of a jerk.
Exactly.
So the one, does that feel good?
No, you just
start naming
it was like
animals after
you
muscles.
hooked it up high and then just like sheared over.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right. So what I'm doing here is I've got my heel hooked in to vastus lateralis, shearing towards rectus femoris, and that's where Robert said, he said, ooh, because he felt that. Again, that's those hip flexors. They have a tendency to be really, really tight. We're just hanging out. Got my leg here to support his knee so he doesn't, you know, feel unsupported and have to worry about it, and he can just relax into what I'm doing. I've got my hands back here. In my practice, I usually have a big bolster I like to kind of lay on because I'm spoiled and I have a lot of different pillows. But very versatile to what you want to do. So I'm going to come out really slowly because this area is super tender and tendinous. We want to be gentle. How is that? Good. And then I like to come back in. Just that broad pressure and moving stuff around. Work my way down the leg. I'm going to come back up here. I'm going to press in. Again, a little bit broader, but with more pressure. And now, because the leg has rolled a little bit, here's his knee. Now we're working a little bit more on the top again, and that's going to be that rectus femoris or femoris, the hell dog. And then a little bit of vastus lateralis as well. How does that feel? And so I've got them held, and I'm going down or at this direction angle and slightly up because that's what feels good for my hips. That's where I'm feeling some tension, and this is just where I feel he needs. But you can go all the way around. The biggest thing when you're working on these muscles is to go very slowly. Quads in general are usually very tight on nearly everyone, and that's because we sit, we walk, we move around, we use our legs a lot, surprisingly. And when we sit for long periods of time, it can shorten these muscles. So they're very cranky when they get touched. So we want to be very, very gentle. Use broad pressure at first. And so what I'm doing here is I'm just kind of sandwiching his thigh and rolling it around. Now my heel is a little bit more on, just rolled onto TFL. And how's that pressure?
Good.
So Robert can handle some pressure, which is great, but as a giver with your receiver, just check in because it can be very intense. How's that? Yeah, the muscles. Yeah, that muscle rolling, you'll feel that. You'll feel the muscles move around as you're, moving the leg around. And that can be a little jarring for both you and your receiver. That's where you just take it slow and hold. And what I'm doing with my foot too is, again, this is the thigh, this is the nice flat part of my foot. I'm kind of wrapped it around his thigh. And then what I'm doing is just slowly rotating back and forth like this. If I find something, I'm leaning in this way. If I find something, I'm leaning in that way. And so I'm using the whole part of my foot to massage, as I show you with my hands. Yeah. It's really intense. And again, just sandwiching, just this bottom foot pulling, top foot pushing, and just meeting up, going back like this. When you get closer to the knee, just again, we start getting into a lot more tendons and attachments and things like that. So just be gentle, pay attention to your receiver, so you don't get them to hate you. And just move slowly. Sometimes you'll find like a really nice dense spot on the top, and what I like to do, just take my heel and gently just press my foot on it. Just hang out. I let gravity do the work. Sometimes you can do a downward pressure. Do you want more pressure? Yeah, exactly. Or you could just like hang out like I'm doing and let gravity do it. But just when you find some of those nice little things, and you're like, oh, I should spend some more time here. Just hang out and spend more time there. So, pretty easily that way. I like to go back in, broad pressure. Oh, everything's rolling around. You do have tight quads there, Robert.
Huge muscles.
Huge, huge muscles, huge quads.
Whoa.
At least this part. Again, just rolling, and I'm using my whole foot, as you can tell. So right now, I've got a nice spot, feels good, using my heel. I'm gonna roll it back down. Take some of that pressure off. How's that? So then we're gonna go to the other side, because we like our people to be balanced around. Ooh. And the same thing. I don't know if you can see me. So put our foot underneath the knee. Top foot, again, very gentle into, yeah. These hips don't want to move.
And I'm a little tighter on this side.
Definitely is a little tighter.
The TFL on this side was where I developed some knee pain laterally.
Is that a good view?
Normally camera 2 or 4.
2 or 4. Let's see what 4 is.
Yeah.
Camera 4 look good for y'all?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna stick with camera 4. So again, lower leg, just keeping control of this leg. While my upper leg, my left one does a lot more of the work. Ooh. You can tell that this side doesn't move as freely as his left side. Like he said, this is the side that gives him more trouble.
That all feels. When you press in there, it starts to like lightly on the outside.
I'm going to shift my body just a little bit so I can get more pressure in line with my, let's do 2 so we can see that one. I'm going to get more pressure, just keep my hip in line with his, and a little less strain on my knee as I apply more pressure. How's that? Bottom leg is stabilizing, top leg is doing all of the work. My arms are just here to look beautiful. And I don't know, do air puppets or something. I don't know, what do people use their hands for in massage?
Oh, that's a good question.
Right?
What do people massage for?
Yeah, we should do a class on that. So.
We're beloved.
Could show you all the different things that you could be doing if you're doing mat work.
It's a sea change. Very just mat based. Don't worry about suspension. Don't worry about abdominal work. Don't worry about chronic pain management, mobility. Like, this is really crazy. He's on a mat. Just that is like very unsettling to someone. A very adept therapist becomes almost juvenile because they don't like if you take effleurage, like, well, but effleurage is I'm like, I know it's the foundation of what you learn in school, but this comes from Southeast Asia. This is This is a different foundation. This is more compression and mobility.
It's hard too when you're a table therapist and you're so used to using effleurage, you know, that wonderful, just like, oh, I'm gonna run my hands all over you and everyone loves it and everyone feels good. And a lot of times you'll do that because you're not quite sure what to do next. And it's a really great placeholder for you to figure out what your next plan is. So I think that could be one of the reasons why a lot of therapists kind of struggle at first, because they don't have that beautiful move to fall back on to fill while they're trying to figure out what to do next. But our version of that effleurage is this wonderful rocking. So I'm not quite sure what to do next. So I'm gonna kick Robert for a minute until I figure out what to do next. But as a receiver, oh man, this feels amazing. I'm doing all of this hip mobilization, all of this low back mobilization. So there's TFL with glute medius and glute max. I'm not quite sure what to do next, but he doesn't know that. Y'all know that because I just said it. Well, he knows it now because I kind of told him. You didn't hear that. But that's where the rocking comes in. So when you're not quite sure, rock, see where they're holding tension, see where their body is not flopping as you're expecting or as the other side was. And then that can give you an idea of where to go. So I know Robert's right side is a little bit more cranky than his left. We're gonna find TFL right there. You can't see it because of his pants. We're gonna find TFL and just press in, and again, doing this kind of motion. Oh, wrong way. This kind of motion. And you can see that, just pulling that in. How does that look? Thank you very much. I like this because it's broad, it's on the TFL, it's that big flat foot right there. We're just hanging out, getting that pressure. And then I release, get some movement. Yeah, sure, which one? Thank you. Andrew's being amazing by helping, pointing out that I need to put anatomy on there. Yeah, this is all the stuff that we're working on. It's behind me. I think I was on 4. Can you feel it? So I've got my foot, I mean, it's in there. You know, like I've lifted up his hip, lifted up this leg, my right leg, my bottom leg is holding his, and we're just hanging out here. Because this is where I'm feeling a lot of that tension, right at that glute kind of TFL border. How does that feel for you?
Good.
Good. And I can rock my working foot to get some just movement in there. And look at his floppy leg over there. It means I'm getting stuff to slowly to release, which is nice. But I want floppy muscles. What you want to hear, right? Cool. And then I'm going to do, now I'm using my whole leg, as you can see, and now his whole body is rocking. So this is where you can really change up what you're doing. I can do these tiny little movements with just my ankle and my foot, just really focus on what I'm doing, or I can use my whole leg, get a whole body movement. Really kick up those hips, and get underneath there with TFL, or I'm sorry, glutes. Bring his leg out if I want. If I really want, can I see your arm? And grab onto his arm and just lean back. How does that feel? So now I've got 3 points of contact, a lot of pressure on that hip, on those glutes. I'm just gonna hang out. Oh, Robert, he doesn't use his hands, so he doesn't really need this. But I'll pretend like he's a
Nice.
Why? We don't use hands, right?
Still use my hands.
That's true, you type a lot.
I'm a biped hominid, trust me.
That's true.
I mean, I might massage a keyboard more than I massage people.
Yeah, and your
days,
phone.
Yeah.
So for all the other normies out there who use their phone or their keyboard or massage, this feels wonderful. Just hanging out. Do some nice forearm work and traction. But really, I'm working, look at all this beautiful glute work I'm doing. And then now I'm also like, I don't have to come back and do hands later because I just did them. So it's more efficient. And get more stuff done. So now that I've got all that jazz worked out, we're going to come back and look at our thigh. Big, broad compressions. And I can feel the head of his femur right here and his whole ball and socket joint right there, doing very gentle compressions over it. But I'm like, oh, that's it. I don't want to stick my whole foot in there. I don't want to stick my heel in there because it's a bone. Like we all know that. So there's TFL. There's that ball and socket joint, or hip joint. And we're going to move down and just slowly compress in. Introducing that touch, saying, hey, it's okay. I'm here to make sure that you feel better. That's our goal. And again, as you're doing this, you will feel those tight quad muscles moving around as you press into them. So here, I'm going to be working on more of TFL, which is right there. I'm sorry, IT band. Whew. That's that main support structure for your lower body. And your quads and your hamstrings, so front and back, both like to attach here. So it's a big, big, important thing for your lower body. Thank you so much. Back out. Gentle press in. So I'm feeling some tension right here, which when we roll his foot, leg regular, it's going to be right on the edge of rectus femoris and vastus lateralis. I feel a lot of tension right here. I'm going to come in with a broad foot again. Just press in until I feel like he's warmed up. And I also know his limits. So I can go in a little bit deeper with my heel. Ooh, how's that feel? It is very sharp. So when you're first starting out, getting to know your receiver, getting used to your feet. When I first started, I had dumb feet. Y'all, I'm a great therapist, at least I think so. And I could not figure out how to use my feet. They were all the way down there. Like my hands are here. I use these and they were all the way down there. So it took a little bit of time to get used to figuring out how to feel, how to gauge pressure and not just, kick my receiver because I like them and I want them to come back. So here I'm just rolling into the quads and I'm feeling just a big source of dense tissue there that I really want to spend all day on, but we don't have all day. So we're going to move on. And I'm going to move my bottom down so it's a little bit more in line with my hips because that's what feels better for me. Now, people can go all over the place, whatever they need to. This is just what works better for me and my hips. And that gentle press and roll. Like that. Again, I feel that tissue right there. Press in. Hang out. Release. Come back in, do some nice mobilization. Again, I'm not quite sure what I want to do. I mean, I do know, but I'm trying to figure it out. This is a great way. So then we're going to work on our, where are we at? Is it? Okay, we'll do this one. So now we're going to work on gastroc, our calves, and soleus. And here's a graphic. As you can see, so gastroc is our superficial muscle. It's that big muscle that we always see on runners. And you're like, dang, he's got some swole calves. And like you can see the individual muscles. That's gastroc. He's a nice big guy on top. Below him is that on the right, the flat muscle is soleus. He does a ton of work and he's really hard to get through or get to because gastroc and its big old butt is right on top of it. So one of the best ways to help get these guys is we're going to do some nice deep compressions. And I'm going to come here. And I like to sit like this because this is what feels good for my hips. Yeah, I like to sit like this. This is what feels good for my hips. So I'm going to lift his leg up. How does that feel, Robert? Okay. Can you see that good? Okay. So nice big part of gastroc of the calf right here, and I'm just gonna roll him. Gonna roll. And it's kind of like kneading bread. I'm pressing down and rolling, pressing down and rolling. And what's going on, I'm using the nice flat, soft part of my thigh, because I could use the top and use, it's a little bit sharper. It can dig in a little bit more. So using the side, we're gonna press and roll in just like that. How does that feel, Robert? So now that we've got this all warmed up, I know I want to get in deeper, but I can just press on it. There's all of these wonderful muscles on top, which are the peroneals. That's going to be right there. We have the peroneals, which are these guys along the sides, and then we have tibialis anterior, which he's on the top. These are really tight typically with runners, people that use their legs, typically people that wear heels, martial arts people, a whole bunch of people. But in order to work both, because we're being efficient, I'm going to roll him like this. And first, I'm going to just do some nice thumb compressions down the side because I want to see if there's any tension hiding anywhere. Just kind of see what I've got going on. And then here's the knee, about, I don't know, third of the way down. Feel some congestion that I want to press on. I'm going to take my elbow, the flat part of my elbow. Oh, thanks, appreciate it. Take the flat part of my elbow. I'm going to press in right here. Roll and press. Does that feel, Robert? I don't like the way that's feeling. I can use this arm, get more of a longer press over here. I can do that by stacking my body weight. Because this is what feels best for me in my body. This is what works best for me in my hips. Everybody's different. Everybody's got their own thing going on. How's that? Again, just make sure that you check in with your receiver. This area can be very intense, but a lot of people need it so very much. And come back. Do some more rolling compression. How did that feel? All right. So now we're going to work on the quad or hamstrings. Whew. Those are back there. And I like to have my hips same in line with their hips. Knee, hip, shoulder, all the same line. I'm going to come in and I like to use my outside leg with my toes facing out. Take my receiver's leg a little bit past 90 degrees. Come in, hook my foot using the flat part of my foot, this part, just pressing into the hamstrings, fully extend. So how does that feel? Feel good? Real good? All right, take one hand, I like to grab the top of the foot or grab around like this. Other hand grabs the ankle. That's what feels good for me. Once I've got my hold, I'm going to lean back and pull his leg onto my foot. Move down just a little bit, hook in and lean. As you see, my leg is almost fully extended. That's what feels good for me. How does that feel for you, Robert?
Good.
That's good for him. It's a very deep, broad pressure. I could easily go in and just use the heel of my foot and go bam, right in there and pull him on. That would hurt a lot. Don't do that unless you don't like your receiver or money. So lengthen it out, pull on to that. And sometimes you can see almost a bend in the thigh as we work on here. And that's just because we're doing some deep compressions, moving down, pressing in. And again, be mindful of your heels or of the ball of your foot. The area can be very, very sensitive, and you don't want to hurt them. As we get down a little bit closer, you'll start noticing his hips over here are lifting up. I'm not getting as much torsion or leverage. That's the word that I want. I'm not getting as much leverage. So what I can do is take my foot, just bring it in, let his leg lay, and then we're going to slowly bring it out. Just fall open like that. And as you'll see, his leg will just fall open. It'll hook underneath my knee. My foot is still hooked in underneath his knee right here. So we're kind of like hugged, I guess, together. And it's just again for support. How does that feel?
Good.
Okay, awesome. So now that I've got him here, I'm going to bring him up just a little bit, open up those legs, show me this beautiful inner thigh that everybody needs work on, but we all rarely get. I'm going to take my other leg, my inside leg, and just gently press. And I can use my hands to get the leverage that I need. Again, full flat foot, just pressing in. How does that feel? Okay, good. And you can do this by just pushing with your leg. If you want something that's a little bit more gentle, you can just shift with your hips, or you can also take and pull them more onto you. Whatever works for your body, because everybody is different. The biggest thing is to make sure we're not cutting into them with the side of your foot. That can be really uncomfortable. I'm going to move around, get all that stuff done. I want to come in and get some of these deeper in between muscles, semitendinosus, semimembranosus. Use the heel, but you want to go slow. Give your receiver a chance to process what we're doing as we go deeper. And you'll see on the graphics those hamstrings, a lot of them. They're big and they need work. And that's what we're going to do. As you get closer to the pelvis, you might notice some increased tension, and that's normal. All I'm doing is I've taken and I've turned my foot to where I'm using more of the edge, more of like a knife, but I'm not stabbing him because that would be mean. I'm going in very, very gently, pressing and release. Press, hold, and release. Go all the way up and all the way down. And then once you feel like you've done a lot of this inner thigh, just come back up, unhook him, bring his leg up, oops, maybe, there we go, and down. And then I like to grab the foot, grab some traction, and just lean back slowly. You don't want to jerk, that can cause a recoil. Just gonna lean. Create some length. How did that feel? So now that we're back to this guy, it's been a while because I just did that whole other leg. We're gonna come in just real quick and say hey again. How's it going? Kind of forgot what we did. So this is our effleurage. Get some movement in that hip. And we're going to come in. And again, calves along the thighs. Going to roll like I'm making bread. Going to roll that on there. You know, somebody that wants more pressure, you can use the top of your thigh. You can put your arm underneath sometimes, just kind of whatever fits for you. But today we're gonna only need bread. Need leg bread. And thumb press down tibialis anterior. Ooh. And then I'm gonna do some nice pressure right here. I'm gonna stack my body and just lean in. How does that feel? And just lean in like that. This is what feels best for me. If you need to, I can go like this and stack more. If I really want to, I can bend my elbow, use that nice sharp point. That's not what we need today. We're gonna use the nice flat part of our elbow and just sink in. So once we've gotten that, I'm gonna bring his leg up. And again, getting him in line, knee, hip, shoulder, ear. We're gonna lift up, take him a little bit past 90, outside foot, toes on the outside, up close to where the knee is. Extend your outside leg and pull your receiver's leg and pull and just lean back. You don't need a whole lot of upper body strength. This is not pulling with my upper body and having to wrestle him. It is simply a leverage where I've got hand on ankles, hand on foot, my foot is hooked in. Just lean back and relax. How does that feel? Again, being mindful that not using your heel or the balls of your feet too hard into this, because it can be very painful. So when we're finished, I take my foot, put it all the way up vertically, up to his knee. I'm going to slowly drop him down. Bring him up just a little bit higher. His foot is going to hook in underneath my knee, which is great and what I want. And then I can hold on for more stability. I'll use my other foot to do all this really great inner thigh work that we need. Like that. I'm going to move my bottom a little bit closer so I can get a little bit, there we go. A little bit deeper and a little bit more leverage. How does that feel? Using a soft foot, moving up. And what I'm doing too is I'm taking my foot and slowly turning it to just get a little bit of a shearing effect, a little bit deeper, because I know my receiver can handle it. Be mindful that your receiver may not be able to. I don't know if y'all have caught on, I'm a giant pressure sissy. So I like to be very mindful of what my clients or my receivers can handle. And you do this by checking in, saying, hey, how's it going? You like that? More or less pressure? Or, as Robert likes to say, look at their eyebrometer. Their eyebrows are into their hair. Yeah, if they look like they just saw a ghost, probably best idea to back out. Give them a minute, and then take them back. So once we've had a chance to work on that, I'm just going to bring this guy back up, just like that. And then slowly grab ankle and gently grab the leg, and then just lean back for a second. Remember, we don't want to yank the leg. That can cause the receiver to tighten up and lengthen. And relax. Did I forget anything?
Yes.
I did.
I have a whole upper body.
You do.
I have arms.
Hey, I worked the
hands.
one arm.
Finally getting to my feet.
Yep. Look, I did like 2 whole legs in I don't even know how long. I did 2 whole legs in like a quarter of an arm. Like
No, we're
2
way past time anyway.
Yeah, I figured as much. So
Oh.